You know, for as long as I can remember, we've been told one thing about salt. It's the enemy, right? Cut it out, watch your intake, always go for the low sodium option. But what if that's only half the story? What if, in some cases, getting too little salt could be just as dangerous as getting too much? So let's dive into the science that's turning our entire understanding of salt completely on its head.
So, back in 2008, a study from the Albert Einstein College of Medicine just dropped a bombshell. They analyzed data from thousands of American adults, and they found something that totally flipped the script. They saw a, quote, significantly increased risk of death from cardiovascular disease linked to, you guessed it, lower sodium diets. And the numbers, they were just staggering. Get this, the quarter of people in the study who ate the least amount of sodium were 80% more likely to die from heart disease than the quarter who ate the most. I mean, let that sink in, an 80% higher risk for the low salt group.
It just seems completely backwards, doesn't it? It goes against everything we've been taught. So the big question is, how on earth could a lower salt diet be connected to a higher risk of heart disease?
Now, okay, before we all run out and start mainlining salt shakers, we have to pump the brakes. It is absolutely crucial to understand that this was an observational study. That means it found a link, a correlation, but it doesn't prove that low sodium caused the higher risk. So this study isn't a free pass to eat all the salt you want. Instead, think of it as a giant flashing question mark that forces us to look way deeper into how sodium actually works inside our bodies.
To really start unraveling this mystery, we have to begin with the most immediate danger of low sodium, what it does to the brain. See, your body is all about maintaining this incredibly delicate balance, and when that gets thrown off, the results can be, well, pretty severe.
The official medical term for this condition is hyponatremia. It's actually the most common electrolyte problem that doctors encounter. And it's exactly what it sounds like. The concentration of sodium in your blood drops to an abnormally low level. And sodium is basically the main traffic cop for the fluid outside your cells.
So what happens when those sodium levels just plummet? Well, your body hates an imbalance. It works tirelessly to even out the concentration of stuff inside and outside your cells. So with less sodium outside, water rushes into the cells to try and dilute what's inside. That process is called osmosis.
Now, in most parts of your body, your cells can swell up a little bit, and it's no big deal. But your brain is locked inside a rigid, bony box, your skull. There's literally no room to expand. So when brain cells start swelling with water, that's a condition called cerebral edema, the pressure inside your head can skyrocket, and that can lead to seizures, a coma, or even death. So you're probably thinking, okay, easy fix. Just pump the body full of sodium, right? Well, not so fast. The body's balance is so incredibly delicate that correcting the problem too quickly can create a brand new and just as devastating problem.
It's a condition called osmotic demyelination syndrome, or ODS. See, if the brain has slowly gotten used to that low sodium state, a sudden flood of sodium can basically suck the water back out of the brain cells way too fast. And that can cause horrible, sometimes permanent brain damage. It's a true clinical tightrope walk for doctors.
To really, truly understand all this, we need to zoom in, way in, down to the microscopic little engines that are firing away in almost every single cell in your body right this second just to keep you alive. Okay, meet the hero of our story, the sodium-potassium pump. This incredible little piece of biological machinery is embedded in your cell membranes, and it is working non-stop. It uses energy to kick 3 sodium ions out of the cell for every 2 potassium ions it pulls in.
Honestly, the best way to picture it is like a tiny, tireless bouncer at the door of the most exclusive club in the universe, your cells. It's constantly managing the crowd, making sure there's more potassium on the inside and more sodium on the outside. And this isn't just about keeping things neat, it's absolutely essential for life.
And it's this beautiful, elegant little 6-step dance. It starts when 3 sodium ions from inside the cell basically hop on for a ride. The pump then uses a bit of energy, which makes it change its shape, and poof, it spits the sodium out. That new shape is now perfect for grabbing 2 potassium ions from the outside. Once they're on board, the pump snaps back to its original shape, releasing the potassium inside. And that cycle just starts all over again, billions and billions of times a second all over your body.
So why does all this matter? Why are we geeking out about this tiny pump? Because all of this constant pumping creates an electrical difference across the cell membrane. It's called an electrochemical gradient. And that gradient is basically the battery pack that powers everything. Every nerve firing, every muscle contracting, every single thought you have, every beat of your heart depends on this little pump doing its job perfectly.
And that brings us to the other, often forgotten half of this equation. We've been so focused on sodium, but like the pump's name tells you, it has a crucial partner, potassium.
And this, right here, is where we start to crack the code from that 2008 study. The science that's emerging now suggests that the biggest factor for your heart health isn't just the raw amount of sodium you eat, but its ratio to potassium. So let's look at the numbers. On average, people in the US consume about 3,400 milligrams of sodium a day. But the official recommendation is only 2,300 milligrams. So we're already eating almost 50% more than we're supposed to. We're getting way too much sodium. Okay, so what about potassium? Where the gap here is, it's even more shocking. The recommendation is for 4,700 milligrams of potassium a day, but an incredibly low 2% of US adults actually manage to hit that goal. We are starving our bodies of this critical mineral.
And it's exactly this terrible combination, tons of sodium paired with barely any potassium, that is a well-known recipe for hypertension or high blood pressure. And high blood pressure is the single biggest risk factor for cardiovascular disease. These two minerals are supposed to work as a team, in balance, but our modern diet has turned them into opponents.
All right, so let's connect all these dots. Let's try to build a new, smarter way to think about salt and our health.
So here's the bottom line. First, sodium is a double-edged sword. Way too little can make your brain swell, while way too much over time contributes to high blood pressure. Second, all of this is managed by that amazing little sodium-potassium pump. Third, the real secret to heart health isn't just about hating on sodium, it's about making sure it's balanced with enough potassium. And fourth, our modern diet gets that ratio dangerously wrong. And finally, that shocking 2008 study, it wasn't a green light to eat more salt. It was a warning sign that maybe our intense focus on just one single nutrient was making us miss the much bigger, more important picture of overall mineral balance.
So maybe it's time we reframed the whole conversation. Maybe the most important question we can ask isn't just, how much salt is in this? But rather, what's the balance here? It's definitely something to think about.